Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Sheriff Richard Mack, young George Washington, Sammy Hagar, the rock star, and we're just getting started. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman, along with the good Sheriff Richard Mack for Liberty RoundTable Live. This will be the fastest hour in TV. We're packed with hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. Plus, we got to talk about our travel schedules and a whole lot more. I just got back from Braver Angels Conference, braverangels.org. I'm now about to go to Freedom Fest. Sheriff Mack's going to Freedom Fest too, but he went elsewhere while I was at the Braver Angels Conference. Man, we've been all over the country standing for the sacred cause of liberty. Sheriff, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sam. It's great to be back with you this beautiful Tuesday morning.
All right. It's called The Young George Washington. It's a movie. It just came out. Not Braver Angels, but Angel Studios brought it forward. Have you seen it yet?
I sure have. Let's see, when did we go to that? I think
I went last night.
We went to it right after we got back from New York.
All right. Anyway, an incredible movie.
Excellent.
I thought it was excellent.
It was.
I'm a history buff, and I studied George Washington, one of my favorite characters in American and world history, and there were things in there that I didn't know, Sheriff.
I didn't know that about him getting sick, and that he had to struggle so hard to get past the prejudice of not being a higher society person.
Elite.
Yeah, he wasn't elite enough to make an impression, but he stuck with it. And something my grandma said, make people above you see how valuable you are. You got to make yourself valuable. And he did, and he never gave up. And his character, his true character really shone through, and you gotta love that movie. Angel Studios, I believe, put that out, and that was just absolutely amazing. And what I taught in high school, I was just telling Zach before the show, we discussed to great length, I should say, about his impression that he made on the Native American tribe. Red Hawk being the chief there. I don't remember him ever saying that in the movie, that it was Red Hawk, but that was his name.
That's
right. And the others that were trying to kill Washington, and they simply were not able to. And then they honored him, saying that he had a great spirit with him that protected him. And indeed, that was the case.
And they even wrote a book about it called The Bulletproof George Washington after the fact to highlight that too. The movie was full of truth and information that I didn't know. For example, I didn't realize what a huge impact his older brother had on him. And I didn't really understand that his older brother was considered or got somehow included in the elite, where, you know, as a younger brother, he wasn't, and all that kind of stuff. But I was so impressed with how good his older brother was to him, and how sad it was for George when his older brother passed away, and then how good his mom was to him. She had faith in him, and she provided great advice. And even though she was worried about him becoming a warrior, she said, if that's what you got to do, get to it. And the mother's love for her son and involvement in his life was tremendous too.
Yeah, he was. And I can say the same. Same as Lincoln. Everything I was and I hope to be, I owe to my Saint Mother.
Dear mother, yeah.
And that's kind of the way I am. My mom had a huge impact on my life. My dad wasn't around very much. He was in the state presidency for 14 years while I was growing up, and he was an FBI agent. And so he covered a territory of about 300 square miles. And so he handled all the crimes on the Native American reservations. And so my dad was gone. And if it wasn't church stuff, it was FBI stuff. And my mom had the impact on all of us 6 children.
Well, there you go. Anyway, George Washington, his life was very interesting. I didn't realize that he had, so many failures early on in his life as well, which really set the stage for who he was and the humble person that he was. Yes, he on one hand had tremendous confidence and leadership, no doubt about it, but he also had a uncharacteristic humility about him that I think people noticed too. It wasn't just pomp. It was confidence in his God and confidence in him and confidence in those around him. I mean, when he went back for the troops, this famous thing where everybody else was ready to give up, he went back and saved a bunch of people. And they were surprised when he came back because they knew what he had been through. And he's just like, hey, I don't care if I have to start at the bottom. I'm just telling you that I'm here for the right reasons, and I'm going to do what I need to do. And, I don't care about station. I'm equal with you. Right. In fact, I'm your servant. And he started out that it showed that very well in the movie. The best part about it, though, is I don't know if you know, they already announced the second half of the movie will be coming out. They just announced it, and it's going to be called 1776, showing George as a grown-up leader and all the events around his, experiences that led him from the the first war that he was in or whatever else, the French, and then the 1776 will be the sequel or the continuing of that story. And they announced that they're working on that. It should come out next year sometime.
Well, he had a miracle, absolute amazing, unprecedented miracle in leading America to victory over the greatest military empire in the world against Great Britain. And then he created another miracle, and I guess we can't give him credit for that, but God Almighty is the creator of miracles. But the humility became a huge strength of his in leadership that brought him through the Constitutional Convention, which was absolutely phenomenal that he was able to pull that off.
Yeah, he basically couldn't get the troops to go along, and he eventually came out and fumbled around and reached for his glasses and showed how human he really was and how he was just one of them. He wasn't, so-called special. I mean, I believe that he was and everything, but in his own mind and his own heart, he's like, you know what, guys? I'm just one of you. I'm a feeble old man now, but I'm telling you, this is important. And when he did that, I think people went, hey, if this is important to this kind of a guy, and if this guy is going to basically level with who he is and be so candid and real with us, I got to be the same. And all I can say is, Sheriff, I wish we had leaders like that today, sir.
Amen to that, Sam. No question about it. The humility just doesn't seem to be there much anymore, and hate has taken its place.
Proving your point on hate has taken its place. Sammy Hagar, the well-known rock star, I Can't Drive 55, the front man for Van Halen for a while and everything else. He's now known for doing these on-the-road broadcasts with, he, for example, tore around in Jeeps with Ted Nugent, and he does all these crazy fun things, and he owns a bar in Mexico, and he does all these things. Sammy Hagar, pretty wild guy, but here's what happened. He was asked to perform for the 250 celebration. He agreed and said yes. When the public found out about it, they rioted and attacked Sammy Hagar, said this is the worst thing, this is the most tone-deaf, worst thing you've ever done in your entire life. Well, instead of caving and cucking and melting down, Sammy Hagar stood tall and he said, you know what, guys? I don't care what you say. This is about 250. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about left and right. This isn't about opinion, Democrat. This is about celebrating America 250. And then he finished by saying, my goal was to bring people together and create unity on this special day. Now, it got canceled because of the weather, and he was disappointed that he couldn't promote unity. I'm just saying that's stand up, Sheriff.
Well, yeah, Trump can't even try to do the pool between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, the mall area where the pool is, and the left wouldn't even let him try to fix that and make it better and make it shiny and beautiful for the 250th celebration. And in fact, they vandalized it and did everything. And I mean, this is just too crazy, Sam. It's just, like I say in our book, it's just gone too far. We have gone too far, and Democrat Party, you have gone too far. You're way overboard. And there has to be something that they agree on with Trump.
Yeah, that we hold sacred, that's above it all.
It's nothing.
And wouldn't it be 250 that would do that, you would think?
Yeah, you would think that would bring us together. Yeah.
I mean, even on Christmas back in 1914, I think it was, or whatever, they even laid down arms with the Germans and everybody else and said, hey, let's have a halt to this thing. And they sang Christmas carols together. It's legendary. And can't we, for 250 years of the greatest country on the face of the earth, just set it all aside and celebrate? No. Attack Sammy Hagar. This guy's not even a political figure, Sheriff. He's a rock star. He's a crazy guy. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I think he's
pretty
patriotic.
talented.
But all I'm telling you is he stood tall, and now they're attacking him just because he's willing to perform for the greatest country's 250. Wow. All right, I'm Sam Bushman. I've got Sheriff Mack with me. We're going to be at the Freedom Fest coming up for the rest of the week. But, man, we got a barn burner broadcast as we continue in seconds. You are watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Sheriff Mack, standing tall, still answering freedom's call, a badge of promise, a constitutional track history. Won't forget Sheriff Mack.
Indeed, our guest today on the show, the good Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. Become a member today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I will say this. While I was gone to the Braver Angels event, and by the way, I really commend all those who are celebrating 250. Braver Angels they're red and blue. They work together. They set aside differences. I commend Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, for doing that. I commend Sammy Hagar for his willingness to do that. I'm disappointed in those who refused to perform for their country. It's not about Donald, people. Sometimes something's not about Donald. I know that's crazy, but sometimes it's not. You don't have to be an ever-Trumper to the point where you just can't see straight. You've got to realize this is about America. This is about celebrating George Washington and the other leaders who gave their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for the cause of liberty. Well, anyway, while I was at Braver Angels doing that, the good sheriff was in New York, Sheriff.
Man,
did you have to direct traffic over there?
I didn't. I didn't this time, but I talked to a lot of police officers in downtown Manhattan and Times Square. But first, I was in Hudson. Yeah, Hudson. So I thought, wow, does the Hudson go all the way from New York City over by Albany? And sure enough,
yes,
it does.
It does. Yep.
So, yeah, so it was beautiful, huge river. And we actually drove from Albany to Hudson, and then next to Hudson is a little town called Churchtown, and it's maybe 500 people in the whole community. And then we went to the Churchtown Dairy, where we had the 2-day meeting and rally, and Dale Bigtree was the afternoon highlight, and I was the morning highlight keynote speaker, and it went really, really well. I've done this before, and so I did it again, and I invited people up to the stage to take a photo with me, and we had a couple of black people, male and female. We had a Hispanic.
Americans.
Total Americans. And I don't think we had a Native American, but we had atheist. We had a Democrat, we had a Republican, we had independent, we had people who were no party, and I believe that somebody who didn't even vote at all. And we had about 14 people up on the stage, and we took a picture. We all held hands and lifted them high. And I said, folks, I don't have to tell you I don't have to give you a lecture. I don't have to give you any information. This picture is the solution for America.
More than 1,000 words, Sheriff, right?
We've got to all come together. That's right. We've got to come together, and we've got to solve the problems that we're facing for our families and our children and our grandchildren. And if we don't, America is going to continue to die, and under the hands of the Democrat, where we actually point out that the Democrat Party is murdering America. It's not that just she's dying. She's not dying of old age, even though she's 250 years old. She's being murdered. She's being destroyed intentionally from within. And so something our book points out is that Nikita Khrushchev the general head of the Communist Party, general secretary of the Communist Party in the Soviet Union in the 50s and 60s, he promised us that we would end up accepting communism because of the little doses of socialism that we would be fed gradually, but now it's not gradual anymore. And then he says, you will wake up and finally realize that you're a communist country, and we will bury you. We will never invade you. We don't have to. We will destroy you from within. And the Democrat Party, Sam, is completely fulfilling that warning and threat from Nikita.
You're right about that. In fact, Ezra Taft Benson, former Secretary of Agriculture in the Eisenhower administration,
Yes.
he was ordered to bring in some leaders to do that, and he got the same direct, in-your-face message. And he reported about it and wrote about it in several of his books. And
Yes.
Enemy Hath Done This is one of them, and several other books. And he documented that fact, too. They say, we'll just work with you guys and treat you guys so nice, eventually you'll just fall over like ripe fruit before our takeover. And so you got to look at that and go, folks, this isn't about attacking Democrats, but it is about attacking the violation of principles that are leading to the demise of America. And sadly, the Democrats are leading that charge. And that's the point of the book. The Democrat Murder of America, Demagoguery in the First Degree. It's written by Sheriff Richard Mack and by Daniel Perkins, co-authors of the book. TheMurderOfAmerica.com is the website for the book. Check that out. And if you want to see Sheriff Mack in person, he'll be at the Freedom Fest coming up this week. I'll be there as well. We'll both have some booths, and his book will be there and everything else. So there's a lot going on. So your New York trip was great. I went to the Braver Angels conference, and their real goal is to bring red and blue together and have appropriate conversations and set aside the weapons of war, if you will, by words or by refusing to communicate.
Was there any major difference they couldn't come together on?
There were disagreements about topics, but they came together in saying that we understand your point of view even if we disagree.
Oh, okay.
Which is what the whole point is. They're not saying you got to jettison your beliefs. They're just simply saying you got to be civil about it. You got to try to listen. You got to try to learn, and maybe you'll come away with some knowledge and come away with a different kind of perspective. And you can gain respect for the view even if you disagree. I'll give you an example. Right when I got there, Sheriff, you'll like this story, I think. Right when I got there, I was standing in the line getting my registration badge and everything. And there was a guy right behind me that said, I love abortion and stuff. He's like, oh, yeah, I think abortion is great. I believe in late-term abortions. I believe even after the kid's born, we should have abortions. I just at first about lost my mind.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I realized that I was at a Braver Angels conference, and the goal is to try to listen and get together. So I just turned around and said, I couldn't be more opposed to you, in all honesty. I mean, I don't even know how to respond, except I'm at Braver Angels, so I guess I need to listen. And I said, I just completely disagree. And just so you know, at the end of the conversation, I didn't change my mind one bit, and I'm sure neither did he. However, I did say to him, I want you to tell me why you're so pro, abortion, or so pro this. To me, it's like death, and it's destruction, and it's evil, and it's, but I'm not going to go off. I want to listen to what you have to say. I want your explanation. And here's what he said. And it doesn't change my view one iota. I mean, I still think the guy's nuts, but when you listen, you gain some understanding. And here's what he said. I've spent my whole life as a working adult in situations where women are having babies that don't want them. They're not capable of taking care of them. They are in abusive relationships. The children are born into poverty. They struggle for food. They struggle for health care. They struggle for even being wanted. Mother doesn't love them. They get put in foster homes and get sexually abused and everything else. And their lives are just horrible. I go into the hoods and I see these people and I see the needles and the drugs and the abuse and the despair and the suffering. And I just feel like sometimes it's a better way. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. Don't misunderstand me for 1 second. I believe adoption. I believe there's a gazillion other solutions that are much, much better. However, what surprised me, Sheriff, at least, is he wasn't coming about it from the way I would frame it, which is, hey, this guy's a murderer and he wants to kill everybody and he, whatever. He's actually coming from a place of compassion Because I even said to him, but aren't there other programs that could make a difference? And he said, yeah, the problem is there's no money for them. Nobody will fund them. So yes, I don't disagree with your point,
that's
but
not true.
nobody will fund them, and nobody will. And you know what? To a great degree, that's true. The churches have failed at it.
I think there's dozens of programs.
Well, there's programs.
These people are, I think they're a little bit too ignorant and just not aware that they can do that. But
this guy worked in this industry, though. That's what his whole life has been spent doing and everything else. So whether the programs are not available, whether he's ignorant or not, I don't know. But here's the whole point. I listened to his point of view, and I certainly do not agree with his solution, not one iota more than I did when I started, obviously.
No.
In fact, I'm even more opposed.
Right.
But at the same time, at least I learned that he was coming from a view of compassion as he sees it. Now, broadening the perspective, if we can't talk and I call him a murderer and he thinks I'm a nutcase and then we can't talk, we gain no ground. But if I listen to him and now I kind of come back at some point and develop somewhat of a rapport with him, we get past the differences and we become human to one another, I might be able to share some of those programs and some of those opportunities and some of those things with him in ways that might change some of his views and say, you know what, I'm still a believer in this, but I realize there's better and other options and, but I'll never get that across if I can't make a friend out of him first. And so I learned quite a bit, and that's what the whole Braver Angels agenda is about, is to say, listen, we have got to step back. We've got to listen. We've got to see if we can't work towards solutions together. There's something about Braver Angels that's incredible, Sheriff.
Yeah, there is. There has to be. And I had an experience with a Democrat being at that event that I spoke at in Churchtown. And amazing thing. The Churchtown Dairy is owned by Abby Rockefeller, David Rockefeller's daughter. She was wonderful. She's an amazing patriot. And I'm really glad we got to know her. But after I spoke, and then after the day was over, a lady came up to me and she goes, well, a Democrat and I were here and she was actually in your photograph and she left because of the title of your book. And she started arguing with me about the book. And I said, you're the reason I wrote the book. And that the other lady, you're the reason we wrote the book. And I said, if you will read the book, you'll see that it's a solution, not an attack. And so she would not read it, though. And
that's the problem, is people won't listen. And Braver Angels is designed to try to bring people together and say there's a better way. That better way is the greatest country on the face of the earth, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Bushman. The good sheriff is with me, Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org, themurderofamerica.com. Check out his book. It's incredible. I'm Sam Bushman, ladies and gentlemen. This episode's in the can. Spread the word. It's everywhere. Rumble, YouTube. It's everywhere. God save the Republic of the United States of America.
There's a penalty for truth, but it's worth it when you try. Yeah, it's worth it when you try.